This morning, on the 30th of April 2015, we were disseminating the findings of a survey to analyze the quality of fertilizers on the Ugandan market. Basically, the main objective was to assess whether farmers are accessing the right quality fertilizers, and that stems from the outcry from the public that the non-response from use of fertilizers. EPRC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, funded by the AGRA, Alliance of a Green Revolution in Africa, undertook a survey. We went out, looked at the country, and we looked at the market in terms of regions, selected 2 districts per region, and then went out to look, based on lists of input dealers who lie in those regions. We selected 3 input dealers from each district, and the input dealers were in a category of those who are registered by the ministry. We wanted to check out whether regulation is really working to ensure quality. Those who are unregistered, we pulled samples from those who are unregistered and those who are members of UNADA. A good fertilizer is assessed on 3 parameters. Quality is looked at in terms of the moisture content of that fertilizer, and then even the farmer must have the right weight. If I go to buy 50 kilograms, the farmer should be buying nutrients within the 50 kilogram bag. And also we looked at the nutrient content. And on analysis as regards 2 parameters, weight and moisture content, we found out that on average 3 out of any 10 bags that are imported are compliant to those parameters, have the right quality in terms of moisture content and weight. And then when it comes to other players in the supply chain, we realize that on average, there are still issues of supplying to farmers fertilizers of the right quality. Also, the samples were taken to the laboratory for nutrient content analysis. And of the 5 fertilizers we looked at, urea, NPK, DAP, MOP, and CAN, we found that urea that is imported is of the right quality. At the same time, that is retailed by the retailers, the nutrient content is reasonable. However, the problem is with repacking of the urea fertilizer. There is a tendency, the findings of the study show that farmers, because they are smallholder farmers, the stockists open the bags and repack the fertilizer in smaller quantities of 1 to 2 kilograms, and that causes problems in terms of nutrients like nitrogen in the urea that is very important in crop growth is lost. Likewise, when we looked at other types of fertilizers, we found that NPK, the nitrogen in NPK is wanting, right from the NPK that is imported. The DAP fertilizer is okay, but at the same time we found out that an interesting finding that the samples that came from Kisoro district in southwestern Uganda were of good quality. And when a follow-up study that established that there is a tendency of farmers to prefer fertilizers that come across the border, from Rwanda, and on further investigation we realized that in Rwanda the policies and the mechanisms of importing fertilizer were undertaken by government, and government imports fertilizer in a big bulk, so there is some level of quality control. So that's one of the findings of this study. And importantly, the conclusions are that there are inconsistencies in the quality of fertilizers on the Ugandan market, and that stems from the minimal regulatory control of their supply chain from the fertilizer that imported and the fertilizer that is sold to farmers. The ministry capacity within the Ministry of Agriculture is still lean on the ground to ensure that the fertilizers are coming, inspection of fertilizers being imported, at the same time inspecting how fertilizers are handled by retailers, because moistening of fertilizer is also a result of poor handling. So that could be one of the factors that the study picked up, is that high levels of moisture as fertilizers leave the wholesalers to the retailers to the as the fertilizers that are accessed by farmers in terms of small packets. So importantly is that there is a need to strengthen the inspection system, control system, and then I think one of the important things that EPRC, in collaboration with MAIF, at the same time, we undertook the task of developing the fertilizer on behalf of, for government, the fertilizer policy, regulation and control, the regulations and the strategy to operationalize the policy. And within that strategy, there is actionable points to develop that are clearly itemized of how to strengthen the fertilizer industry in the country. So we are, I think at this point, those 3 documents have been approved by top policy management in the ministry of MAIF, but they are waiting for a long period of time. They are waiting approval from cabinet. So we think that the way forward that those documents must be approved by cabinet and operationalized, meaning that there should be commitment, budgetary commitment to have the fertilizer subject sector developed in the country. We think that there is no way we can feed the growing population without use of fertilizer in this country. So fertilizer is going to be an integral part of development of the agriculture sector. So government needs to commit funds to developing the fertilizer subsector. And that is clearly actionable items are outlined in the strategy. So it's we have a policy with a framework, an operational framework. So that is already in place, but it needs also action from government for approval. And when you look at that strategy, we are saying over a 5-year period, we are committing government to invest around 136 billion Uganda shillings over a period of 5 years. So that means that the government should look for those resources to invest and to have a functioning fertilizer. The results have shown farmers are going to be discouraged from use of fertilizer. We shall have fertilizers that have no impact, and we shall see agriculture sector, productivity declining irrespective of the use of fertilizer. The few farmers, the 8% that are using fertilizer, will also be discouraged if there is no enough control and regulation to guide this subsector.